doing? My name's Vinny. I'm here with Kelly T's Black Metal Reviews. I have a very special interview for you this evening. I am talking to the wonderful Westbrook. That is Dakota and Misty from the band Westbrook right here in the United States, making amazing black metal. So we're just going to jump right in. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I can't complain. I'm happy to be getting this done. We had a little hiccup in the first one, so just try to make this one a little bit smoother here. So let's see. I started out by asking you guys your musical backgrounds. So Dakota, if you want to start out there.
My musical background is, like I said, I started at 7, just listening to music. I didn't start actually playing until I was like 10 or 11, seriously. By the time I was 12, I was in my first little garage band. Between the ages of 14 and 16, I released my first couple albums under Hand of Annihilation, and then I had this other black metal project called Seek Nippahem that we're not going to talk about because that's embarrassing. And that had like 13 releases. HOA had an EP, and Westbrook, I started Westbrook in 2013, and that was really, actually it was started by me, Desi Woods from the band Commit Suicide, and Jeffrey Brooks from Abenokian. And we did an album together called Katori. And then I kind of just wanted to do it by myself after I took a hiatus because I had kids. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this by myself for a little bit. And that's just kind of where it is. And now Misty's in it. So
awesome. Misty, your background?
Music's always been a big part of my life. And I actually started playing the flute by the time I was 3rd grade. By the time I was 6th grade, I was playing on multi-instruments and an honor choir. So that's how that part got started.
Fantastic. Let's talk about some early influences. So what I know, Dakota, you mentioned before, like you started out with country, you found Skinner and then GNR. And how does black metal play into that? Like where did the black metal influence come from, or even metal in general?
okay, so Motorhead first and foremost. I'm sorry, any self-respecting metalhead, even if they don't like Motorhead, understand the bands you listen to at one point like Motorhead. So everyone's influenced by Motorhead.
Of course.
But Motorhead got me into wanting to play fast, aggressive, heavy. Actually got me into wanting to play bass. I played bass before I played guitar. And listening to Motorhead kind of taught me how to write too, because I liked Lemmy's tongue-in-cheek humor. And if you look at the lyrics for Westbrook, you can tell there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor. Whether you realize it's there or not, if you actually look, you'll realize it is very tongue-in-cheek at points. I digress though. What got me into the extreme aspects of metal was actually not a black metal band, it was a death metal band. Cannibal Corpse got me into death metal. And then after Cannibal Corpse, I remember a friend of mine who's no longer with us, he came into my room one day after school. He was like, dude, you got to listen to this. He had Dark Thrones. I think it was Transylvania Hunger by Dark Throne. He actually had it on vinyl. He brought a record player with him. Came over to my house in the rain with a record player in his backpack. And he's like, dude, I got this from my mom. You need to listen to it. And when I first heard it, I'm going to be honest, I thought it sounded like shit. But then I listened to it like 2 or 3 more times, and I got it. And it just kind of stuck.
Awesome, man. You can't ask for a better influence than Dark Throne, of course, when you're exploring black metal when you first start out. Misty, was black metal a thing for you, or did you get into it through Westbrook?
I can say that for me, some of my early influences were things like AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, Anthrax, Metallica, and some of the black metal bands that I had heard were more like Blood of Wolves and the indie scene, because I do a lot of promotion of those bands. But as far as really getting into hardcore black metal, that would be his fault.
I like Bathory.
I like Bathory, and I like a lot of the stuff that I hear him with. Cannibal Corpse, I had heard some of their music. What is the name of that band? Casket. It's a band that played here in Oklahoma City, and
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Something Casket.
That's bad. You should know that.
I know the guy that's the lead singer, and I could give you his name, Steve Casket. But
yeah, it's like me. They never.
Yeah, I mean, But yeah, there are several of them that he's played that I actually enjoyed, but the majority of my influence was actually on the indie circuit. Like I said, Blood of Wolves, you know, you've got several of them that were just indie circuit bands that really kick ass.
Yeah.
And then I showed her both some, and then it was done from there. She was like, okay, I got what you wanted.
Right?
That'll always do it for people. You, Bathory and Burzum, Dark Throne, those are bands where even if you don't like black metal, you're gonna fall in love with it because there's just so much tangibility to it.
Dark Funeral's another
That was one I had listened to, was Dark Funeral.
Yeah.
Sure, Dark Funeral is wonderful too. So, Dakota, you said you started the Westbrook project in 2013, but you didn't actually go solo until 2016?
Yeah, around about that point, because I did the When Nature Calls Me Home demo. You're so fine. I did the When Nature Calls no problem. I did the When Nature Calls Me Home demo. The reason I went solo, by the way, because I know that's probably going to come up, is simply because I was going solo already with Seek Niflheim. I wanted to do a specific type of black metal. I didn't want to do cookie cutter stuff. No offense, but no disrespect to anyone else. But I like Dark Throne, but that doesn't mean I want to sound like Dark Throne. Dark Throne should sound like Dark Throne. Mayhem should sound like Mayhem. If I want to sound like them, I'll join a cover band. And that was the problem I was running into with a lot of people when I was trying to start a black metal band, is they wanted to sound like somebody else. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. If I want to sound like them, then I'll just wait until one of them, you know, in the case of Mayhem, I know this is a very tasteless, not tasteful joke, but whatever. When one of them kicks the bucket again, then I'll try joining. But, usually it takes 23 stab wounds, but, I don't give a shit. It's black metal. This isn't your grandma's music. Well, in my case, it is my grandma's music. But this isn't your grandma's music. Get over it, sweetheart.
It's not my grandma's music.
You guys are funny. So you mentioned When Nature Calls Me Home. Which is just an awesome demo. And obviously When Nature Calls Me Home, When the Snow Falls, Into the Loneliness, and Worthless all lead towards the Somber Collections, which is how I found out about you. I know a few months ago, Kelly asked me to review Somber Collections Part 3. I listened to it. I fell in love with your music. As you know, I fucking adore you from a musical sense, and you're a wonderful person too, but your music's amazing. So the Somber Collections Part 3 is how I got into it. And then I said to her, I go, this is really great. I'm going to do parts 1 and 2 as well and give this artist the credit that they deserve, because your music really hit me, man. It's not like any other black metal out there. So with all that being said, this new album, Northland, how did this come to be? Because it's such a different take on black metal than what you were doing even a year ago. It's a totally different animal.
Well, Northland came about actually by accident, the name of it anyway. The name of it comes from an Immortal song. And if you can guess the Immortal song, I'll give you a free CD. But there was an Immortal song that had the word Northland in it, and that's where the name of the album came from. Then I was like, well, wait a minute, that'd be a cool song title too. So I wrote a song called Northland. The album was originally supposed to be called 143. And I wrote the song when I started writing it back in Georgia. The first songs written for it were 18th of December, which she wrote with me. And then,
which is a great song.
Thank you. That song's got, all those songs have a really deep meaning to them, and I'll save that if you ask about that later. But real quick, the album basically just came from. I looked at her one day. I was like, I want to do a black metal record, but I want to take Sabotage and mix it with Bathory. If you want me to describe a sound to you, I want to take because John Oliva's compositions from Sabotage give me a hard on, so I was like, I want Sabotage meets fucking Bathory. Let's do that. So she sat down with me. We started with 18th of December when I was still living in Georgia. She wrote the lyrics on that. And then I wrote the one song she didn't work on, which was Perfectly You, was the song about her, so that's why she didn't work on it. She didn't even know that was going to be on the record until I showed it to her.
Right.
Um,
Surprise.
yeah, you gotta have beauty in dark music sometimes. And then the rest of the album just kind of fell together. She took a big head on writing this, just like on Somber Collections Part 2, because where people were like, dude, we love what you did on Somber Part 2. I really didn't write any of the music to that. She did. I wrote the lyrics on that. The only song I wrote all the way through was Darkness. The other two songs she wrote, I only wrote the lyrics to them. She wrote the music to them. So I took what she was doing on Somber Part 2, and we were like, okay, I want that again, but give me more of the old school. I want old school production. I don't want to do overproduction. I want to keep it somewhat black metal. Give me more of this, give me more of that. And she sat down with me and we methodically worked every song out where it would still express the emotions we want because the lyrics were very deep. So that's, where that is.
So you said something that really hit me is there's got to be beauty in dark music. And I think that's something that drew me into your music immediately is, man, you have some beautiful compositions. And I know you were going for this, more of this old school sound on this record, and you totally nailed it, but there's still that element of beauty in there. And just what kind of source do you draw from when you're looking to create emotive music?
Her and my kids. And I'll tell you why. Because lyrically, her in some cases, like Perfectly You and 18th of December, those are about her, believe it or not. She wrote the first half of the song. I wrote the second half. The second half, you can tell, was directed at her. This album emotionally was driven from the fact that I had just recently gotten out of an abusive relationship. I ain't ashamed to admit I'm a big guy, but yeah, my ex used to, that was a lot. So that's what most of this music's about, and that's where the emotion came from, and I drive it from, and that's why my music did get beautiful, because if you look at what happened before When Nature Calls Me Home demo came out, the When Nature Calls Me Home song is about my late son, David. I had a son named David. He passed away at a month old. That's where that mental break hit for me, and that's when things started to have to make sense. I actually sat down and learned music theory, because when I lost him, I wanted to express what I had lost in a song. That's why When Nature Calls Me Home and all my music kind of has a funeral dirge sound to it, as I've been told in some cases, especially the long songs, because that's what they are. And they'll always be that way probably. So when you hear the beautiful stuff, it actually comes from the deepest part I've ever been in, because I lost when a parent has a child, they never want to lose their child. I lost my first son in a way no one wants to lose their child, and that's where that emotion comes from when I write.
Oh man, that's really heavy. Honestly, like that hits me.
And I think anybody that survives the struggles of life, that survival afterwards, not the struggle itself, but the survival afterwards is really beautiful to come out of it.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And you mentioned there's that funerary sound. There absolutely is in your music. And you're right, it's the longer songs have such a, just a somber, I mean, not to play off your wording, but they're very somber. And that's, for me, that's what I look for in music. I'm a sad guy. I love that shit. So it's amazing. Let's go back to Northland real quick. So I know you and I discussed this before. You pulled some influence from Burzum on this record, and some influence from, there was another band that we mentioned.
Woods Eat Pray.
Yes, Woods Eat Pray. Do you want to talk about how those influences, which songs they were, just exactly where you were kind of going with those influences on those tracks?
Well, Woods Eat Pray influences in all my music since When Nature Calls Me Home. But the reason is because I actually got to meet David a few times while he was alive. May he rest in peace. That's actually who I named my first son after, because I love his music so much. Long story short, don't name your kids after people passed away. You'll lose them, in my experience. But when you, it's the sad truth of my reality. But that's where I've learned to, because if you listen to my music, the way I've hit certain chord progressions and stuff, and then you listen to Woods Eat Pray, you can hear that's where I get it from. Because I listen to Woods Eat Pray to the point where I'm surprised she don't isn't disgusted by the music at this point, because every time I'm out here, I'll sit out here in this room and I'll listen to, especially Gray Sky and Electric Lights. That album has no bad tracks on it. And every time I listen to it, I hear some new nuances that I didn't catch before. So you'll catch that in a lot of it. And The Winter especially has, and that's why we experimented on the actual singing on this album, which is not the first time I've done that. I had an EP called Glaciers of the Heart that I did horrible vocals on, but so she sat down with me and I had vocal cord damage, and she was like, well, look, we'll work through it and then we'll get it done. And that's where that comes from. The Buddhism influence. Anytime you hear me using minor chords and actually using full chords, because if you notice, I don't use a lot of power chords as much as most of the black metal bands do. That's the Buddhism influence. I learned that from listening to Buddhism, just because Bard does that a lot. And I was like, well, I like the way he plays. And that's how I learned new techniques, is I'll hear a song that has a technique in it, and I will practice that song religiously, and then I'll dissect it and go, okay, this is how he's using it. How can I use that and sound completely different? And that's where that comes on.
That's awesome. Now, Misty, what instrumentation did you do on Northland?
Which song?
Just in general.
It depends on which song, but I've definitely done keyboards on certain songs, bass, and vocals with him on some of them.
Okay, awesome. I mean, that's the thing I love about you guys is you can hear the camaraderie, you can hear your relationship in the music, and that's something that's so special, especially particularly in black metal. I think that a lot of black metal is very hollow and very, even though they're driving with emotive measurements and hitting emotional soundscapes, there's not a lot of true feeling. And you guys do this thing that is just so warming compared to so much more of this music that's coming out these days. And I mean, I can say it 100 times. I love you guys. Your music's fucking awesome. I listen to your album constantly. So all your albums, really. So, you know,
I think we have an amazing connection in the creative aspect, not to mention the personal aspect, but I think in the creative aspect, there's just an amazing chemistry and an amazing way that we work together. And I think a lot of that flows through in the music. I think it really does.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. So, Dakota, what's next? Now that we have Northland out, which, by the way, anyone who's watching this, you can check this album out on Bandcamp. It's available on Amazon. You know, feel free to hit up the Westbrook page. I'm sure there's links to everything on there. But what's next for you? What can we expect coming out soon?
From Westbrook, there's actually a couple things I'm working on. One of them probably will be, I want to say something's coming out later this year. I don't know if it's going to be an EP or full length, though. It just depends on what mood I'm in. And you'll see that for a lot for me. I changed my mind a lot, so don't hold me to that one. Just understand there will be probably something later this year, beginning of next year. And then I'm working on, me and her together are working on a new project called Expiry, which we'll be playing live once this whole virus thing.
Say it right. Expiry.
There you go. And that will be playing live and stuff. We're already done with the album, I'm pretty sure. We're just getting everyone learned up on it. And then for Westbrook, the one thing I can guarantee is within the next year or two, there will be a actual trilogy release that we're working on called Majesty of Nature. So that one is happening. I can't give an exact release date because that is taking me a lot of money to do, because
That's a big baby.
Yeah, audibly and visually. Because I don't play live for Westbrook, so I have to do something to make up for the lack of live shows.
You know what? There's something to be said about a black metal project that doesn't play live, though, and it adds an element of mystery. And I think that it kind of draws people in even more so than bands that do play live. It's just there's something about it where there's that mystique, and I think that could be said more so for you because you're so oriented with nature. All of your stuff has this nature element to it, and that combined with the not playing live shows is just a mystery wrapped in an enigma, and it's so ultimately occulty, and you know, I love that shit. So what else can I say, guys? I think that I'm speaking for myself and Kelly when I say I'm looking forward to the new project that the two of you are working on, and I'm definitely looking forward to more Westbrook, and this trilogy I'm sure is going to blow everyone's expectations. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, if my son Randy sees this in the future, and he better wait till he's older to see it, because yeah, Daddy used some very strong language in this fucking interview. I love you very much. And for my stepson Marcus, because I know he won't watch this, I'm just gonna say, hi Marcus.
Love you, Marcus.
And to everyone else that's supported Westbrook over the years, thank you for dealing with my ability to just kind of switch on the dime and change my sound up every record, because I will say that none of my records actually sound the same to each other.
They do not.
I think that's part of creativity as a musician, to be able to just experiment with it and have fun with it.
Should be. It should be. I think a lot of bands burn themselves out on a sound. They try to replicate success after they find some enough people appreciate their first record, so they do their second record. They try to replicate that, and it never comes out sincere. So your ability to constantly be switching your sounds and adding and removing elements that don't work with the new additions is something that I think anybody that's a musician or a music lover can really appreciate out of you. And speaking of, I really appreciate the two of you sitting down with me tonight. This has been awesome. I look forward to doing this again when you guys release some more music and just promoting the shit out of Westbrook, because I love your band.
Well, we thank you. We appreciate the opportunity and your time, and that you love the music. We love you.
Be still my blackened heart. So guys, thank you very, very much. For everyone watching, be sure to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Kelly T's Black Metal Reviews. I'm Vinny. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a shout, subscribe, get alerts. Let us know what you think. Black fucking metal, guys.